all countries have in the past, but probably even as of today, sort of a take on it changed a little bit. But base their riches, the country's riches, on their holdings. Excuse me, gold and silver holdings. Basically, their gold holdings. As the last 200 years or so, maybe 300 years. So what does that mean? That means tens of decades, even hundreds of years ago, the wealth of the countries were based on how much everyone, so we're talking the bigs of the bigs, the elites of the elites, and the citizens, and we're talking the poorest among us, how much gold and silver everyone had in the country. Combined, that told them, that's how they based their wealth on, the country's wealth on, how rich countries were, the riches of the country. So why is that relevant? Well, it's relevant because that's how much your country sees itself for how it stands, in regards to other countries and that kind of stuff. I know it also goes with how much oil they have, what other resources they have, that kind of stuff. All goes on that same fold, but primarily just off the top. They based it how much holdings they had with them, the government, the elites, and all the citizens. So now, over time, since then, years and years have gone past with indoctrination from your K through 12 and your higher education, your universities, that kind of stuff, to get people not to even look at gold and silver as anything more than something that shines and something that, yeah, people used to like that. Back in the day, that was important, maybe back in the day, and it's just a traditional thing nowadays. Like Ben Bernanke spewed years ago about it's just traditional, and that's how we hold it. That kind of garbage, blatant lie. And now, they have been, and they still continue to slowly take that away from citizens. The government's the elites. When I say they, that's what I refer to. And how are they doing that? Well, they're doing that because they're training, the citizens and the underlings, the unimportant people, how they see us, to not regard gold and silver of any value whatsoever. Whether it has monetary value, whether it has value and use case value, like how much silver is used in things. We were talking solar panels, electronics, that kind of stuff, medicines, and how much gold is revered around the world along with silver. They don't tell you that. They don't teach you that. That's not available right at hand. You have to search it out and seek it out to find out that information, the history of it and stuff. Why would they do that? Well, because to them and to countries in this world, still, that is how they say, all right, well, this country is wealthy, this country's not. This country's wealthy because of how much gold they have. That shows how much wealth they have and how much power they have versus this country here. So if you use Venezuela, who used to be a really rich country because of their oil reserves, their oil there, but now they're a third world country, now they're below the third world country now. They're hyperinflated again. It happens because of their leadership that's there, but they have resources, major resources that we could only dream of having available to use. I'll say that, and the U.S. government, and I say we, but they're a poor country. Why? Because they have no gold holdings, really. They're not seen as someone who can contend, someone who matters on an upper level, an elite status level, as far as countries go. Same with, I'll put out there, Canada. Canada has no gold, no silver, really. The country really doesn't. They got rid of it for the most part over the years, and they say, well, they're really the Queen is in charge of Canada, so they're sort of backed up from them. La da da. You can say whatever you want, but they see themselves as their own country. And if you are an own country, you need to have something for preservation, self-preservation for the country. So I'm saying this because they've taken it. They've done a really good job, really sly job of how much they've taken. Now, if you think about it, if you ask your friends, your family members, that kind of stuff, if anyone has gold, do you guys have any gold? Do you have any gold at home? Do you have any gold stored somewhere? Do you have, or how about silver? Do you have any silver? I mean, 925 silver, sterling silver. That's silver. You may have a necklace or two. That's not much, but it's more than not having it, I guess. But do you have it for a wealth preservation thing? No. Nowadays, it's like it doesn't matter. I remember years ago, I'm saying this, probably 8 years ago, I was at a wedding, and I was talking to my wife's friend, and we were all eating there, and I was telling them about my sons and how they have sort of got involved. Maybe it was 2017, but got involved and really, interested and been accumulating silver and learned a lot about gold and that kind of stuff. And the comment that came from the person, my wife's friend, was, why would you be doing that? Isn't that old? Why would you do that for an investment? Isn't that losing value? Isn't that an old thing to be investing in? And when she said old, I'm like, well, I that's the way I hope everyone thinks of it. That's the way we hope, me and my boys hope that everyone thinks of it, because then no one wants it right now, and we will accumulate more, was my thought, and that's what I said to her. And then years later, she has sort of figured some stuff out and looked at me to ask me questions here and there over the years. And I think she came to understand, well, all right, the stuff that I was taught and indoctrinated with isn't the right thing really I should be focusing on. And she's found some stuff, and she really has changed her perspective and kind of stuff. Same with some people in my family over the years, because when I was doing this, I started doing this probably, 12 years ago, maybe more. They're like, you're just collecting stuff, like collecting sports cards, so you're collecting silver coins, that kind of stuff. That's how they looked at it. And I tried to explain to them, and they didn't understand. Now, as of now, I would say there's a number of people in my family who are doing it and have been involved with self-preservation and purchasing gold and silver for that reason and that point, and trying to teach their children the same thing. And I think that's great. So I'm saying this because if you think about it, now, like I said, they've taken it away to a point from us. They've taken out the knowledge that people have had growing up in this country, and that had learned generations prior to us, generations prior to the generations that are coming, that kind of stuff. They've taken that out of their knowledge base, I guess, if you want to call it that. Maybe I misused that, but they don't see it as a wealth preservation at all. They don't see it as something valuable. What they do see as valuable is the latest tennis shoes, the latest clothing, the latest big screen, widescreen TV, the latest car accessory, the latest this, that, the latest purse, the latest whatever you want to call it. That's looked at upon as showing that you have wealth, showing that you have importance. As long as you're keeping up with your neighbors, or you're keeping up with your family members, or you're keeping up with your friends, that kind of stuff, you present a thing of people. You look like you're wealthy, and you look like you're doing good. So, yeah, you might have your stuff together, but that's all false. It's all a facade. It's not real, because once people come to realize that that stuff that they're spending all this money on retains no real value. If you ever get to it where you have to sell it in case of emergency, you're going to get nothing for it. You'll get stuff for it, but nothing for it versus what you paid for it. if you have it paid off, talking about a vehicle, that kind of stuff, you're probably going to sell it and still owe money on it. I mean, 9 times out of 10, that's the way it is. I mean, the large screen TVs, widescreen TVs, the big box items that are just, I mean, they're worthless. No one wants them. You pop, let's say $600, $700 you dropped on it, and they're way cheaper nowadays to sit down and watch an idiot box for hours and get dumber, in my opinion. But anyways, if it comes down to it, you want to sell it. They're a dime a dozen. Everyone has them. You're not going to get anything close to what you paid for it, because if you want it, you're asking $100 or $200 less than you paid for it, and it's a year or two old. People think, well, no, I'd rather spend another $100 or $200 and buy a brand new one. So I know it's good. It's not bad. I know it's brand new and it has a somewhat of a manufacturer warranty, whether it's 30 days, 90 days, a year, whatever the thing is. At least it's got that. People look at it like that. So you're going to maybe get $100 for it, if that. And then when it comes down to it, you got to get rid of it. You're going to pay to get rid of it, because you can't just throw it away. You got to pay to have it recycled. That's what they call it. That's what they say it is. So I'm saying this because they've taken the wealth away from the countries. I mean, some countries have no wealth, but they've taken the wealth away from the countries as it was looked at. It was looked at tens of decades and hundreds of years ago, like I said. The wealth of the country is based on how much gold and silver the elites, the government, and all citizens were holding. Nowadays, they don't want any citizens to have any gold and silver holdings. Why? Because that means they have power. They have options. If you don't have that, you don't have options. So over the years, they've been trading, getting people to sell that stuff and giving them this fiat currency, this fake dollars or digits, and then buy these things, buy this car, buy this new electronic, buy this, watch, buy this phone, whatever, buy this service, because everything's a service nowadays, a subscription. And that just goes away. Buy this digital music, buy this digital movie, buy this digital thing. Who's holding that? It's being held in someone's hard drive. You don't own it. You're not in control of it. If they want to shut it down, they'll shut it down. Plain and simple. If they don't like what you're doing, what you're talking about, for whatever reason, you don't have access to it. Period. If they think, no, this is too risque, or this is too offensive, even though it was fine for the last 50 years, now we're just not going to make it available to anyone, even though these people paid for it. No matter what that is. Book. Digital book instead of buying a hard book, an actual book. People buy digital books. Same thing. You don't own it. It's on somebody else's hard drive. So I'm just trying to get this in people's heads. I know I'm scattered all over, but get people to think about this. If you're buying that digital stuff and you're buying these things, these vehicles, this, whatever, these one-off things are just disposable, in my opinion. You're not holding any wealth. And if you hold wealth, gold, silver, land, that kind of stuff, some real hard wealth, even tools, seeds, stuff like that has real hard wealth that you need to survive and get by, that people are going to want to do for barter, trade, swap. That's what you need to look at, because they've instilled in people, indoctrinated people, not to think that that stuff has any value whatsoever. Because why would you want to buy some land? Because then you have to take care of it, whatever it is you're going to do. Why, if you bought a apple tree, an apple tree farm, whether that's a couple acres, an apple tree farm. Yeah, you do that, you're going to have to water it, maybe you have to take care of it, maybe you have to kill some dead ones, maybe you have to clean up, that kind of stuff. You buy, this other thing, or you have to take care of it then. You know what? Let's just not to worry about that. I will let you can rent this stuff. You can rent this property. You can rent this property, you can use it to hunt on, you can use it to drive your toys on if you want. You can rent this place from me, and you can drive your boat here. There's lake access. You can rent this from me. You can rent this vehicle. You can rent this house. You can rent this. You can rent that. In the end, you own nothing. But you've been spending your hard-earned labor for what? For a spur-in-the-moment thing? For a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years, a few years, a decade, whatever. In the end, you own nothing, period. Zilch, zip. That's what they want. Just like it's been said over and over the last few years. You'll own nothing, you'll be happy. Because you can rent everything. Sure, we'll own it all. But we'll rent it to you for cheap. That's what they say. But in the end, you own nothing. So that means by owning nothing, you have no power. No power to dictate anything in your life. You have power to rent stuff. You have power to ask for permission. You have power to pay somebody to help you with something because you don't have access to it versus owning the stuff. If you own it, you have power. Then it's up to you what you do with it. It's up to you who uses it. It's up to you how you use it. It's up to you when you use it. No matter what it is, you have the power. And I know I'm running over this. I'm probably repeating myself, but I'm just trying to get this into people's heads to think about this. Stop leasing. Stop renting. Understand you need to lease an apartment at times. But if you can get out of it, as soon as you can, I would look for that. And this is not the market to do it in, but it's the market to think about it and try to save up and get something to direct you that way when it crashes or whatever circumstance is. I mean, that might be what you want to do. Whether it takes 10 years, 20 years, 3 years, nothing happens unless you make the first step towards it. Simple, period. I know people say, I'm waiting for a sign. Well, how are you going to see a sign if you don't start driving? You might figure out you're going the wrong direction, or you're going the wrong way, or what you thought you want is not the right thing. You want something else, but you can't figure that out if you don't start driving. You don't start working at something. I'm just saying that people are struggling. They're living in an apartment. Just saying that you're like, we can't afford it now. We don't have the means right now. We don't have this right now. We don't have that right now. We got to wait a couple of years from now. Then we'll be able to. But you know what you can do right now? You can start thinking about it. You can start planning it. That's free. Get a pencil or a pen and a pad of paper. Get a notebook, cheap notebook that's left over. They're all over. They're a dime a dozen. And just write on the front of it my plans for whatever or my goals for whatever, and just start writing pages. Start writing ideas down. Because nothing's going to happen if you don't do something towards it. Writing, that's something. That's something towards it. Because you write it, you're going to come back to it. No matter if it's moving out of your parents' house, no matter if it's moving out of the state, no matter if it's moving out of the country, no matter if it's how am I going to get my child back, I want like shared custody, that kind of situation. I want to get a couple animals, whatever the case is. It doesn't happen unless you do something towards it. So I know this started with the whole government currency thing and the whole government stuff. But I think this goes all along because they took that power from the people with the people unknowing it. They didn't take it like a theft in the night like they do with inflation and taxes. They took it with changing people's mindset to think this wasn't important. It's not important. You're going to get what you want. You're going to be able to enjoy things, but don't worry about owning it. Don't worry about that stuff. We'll take care of that. You go have fun. They used to call it cakes and circuses, bread and circuses, that kind of stuff. But anyways, sorry for rambling. If I did, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for watching. And if you like this, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And I do have post this various locations So please look into those too, and I usually leave those, down below in the comments. And I post more than just me talking on other avenues here and there. So, and stay vigilant, protect yourself, protect your family, protect your wealth, and protect your health.